Amazing. And I don't think anybody else is on.
They're on.
Yep, we have a good group in here. Welcome everybody. I had just getting a phone call and some neighbors visiting all at the same time as trying to start the gathering here. And welcome. Good to see everybody still admitting some more into the lobby. And yes. Excellent. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us for August 10th, 2025, our Terasem Satsanga. Good to see a lot of faces here and a few more in the background with us. And wow, we were in July just a month ago, but
What?
it seems like
I opened the doors.
so
Yeah,
so
I opened them
so
so
quick.
people would come in the ashram. No, I opened them so they know the ashram is open.
Absolutely. Yep. May all who are curious come and learn and join with us today. So yeah, absolutely. Looks like a lovely day in Vermont. I see Martine and Bina there. We have an open door at the Vermont Ashram where we were just last
The
month.
audio on? Oh.
Can you hear us, Martine?
Yeah, we do. It's a beautiful day in Vermont, at the Vermont Ashram. Still feeling the warm and beautiful energy of you and Jennifer. Still feeling the warm, beautiful energy from when Ruben visited the ashram here. So just a very nice way to start the Terasem gathering.
Beautiful, beautiful. And of course, by no mistake, Vermont sucks in a lot of Terasem energy. And I see Javen also in Vermont, just in the next valley over up there. Beautiful place there. Got to spend some time with Javen out there. I'm sorry, I'm spacing the name of what they call that house.
The Archie Bunker.
The Archie Bunker. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's built on a golf course, so that's like the tee of the 19th hole of the Sugar Bush golf. And then this our golf course that Dave Sellers designed, the Missing Links, and that's where we hosted Gabe and friends for his bachelor party. Up there, you can see some of the old boats that are decorating the place, but it's a crazy cement art structure that architect Dave Sellers built, along with this baby, with that I'm babysitting till November. This is called the Temple of Dindor. So anyway, yeah, it was great to have you up here, Gabe, and congratulations. I was trying to talk Gabe into staying longer. I'm like, no, don't go. Come hang in the valley. We're dialed in Warren.
Yeah.
Also talking to Dan too. It was great to meet him, and I'm psyched to go up to Craftsbury and see what he's got and sort of have a merger of the minds on innovative building and innovative living and car-free and EVTOLs. Woohoo!
Absolutely. Yeah, Vermont is a beautiful playground for all of these things. Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks for that. Yeah. Hello, Ruben.
Hello, good morning to everyone. Very cold here in the south. But nice to see the Vermont Ashram and seeing there Vina and Martin. Really so nice days. I stayed there and working with Ruth. And okay, last gathering, Martin asked me to prepare some presentation about my files and my experience. It is almost ready. I have only to practice a little more the speech in English. So when you think it is appropriate, we can make a schedule for that presentation. And one more, hello Derek. Time without seeing you, it's a pleasure. And okay, that's all.
Thank you, Ruben. Yeah, excellent. And yeah, Derek, yeah, welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, hi. Don't mind my hair. It's like I just woke up and it's like 7 a.m. here. Um, yeah, so what's been going on with me? I got to visit Alcor. It turns out like I'm staying like maybe 15 minutes away from, the facility. So that was really cool. So we got to visit the offices and see all the photos on the wall and see their like science labs and see the like room where the doers are, and get and like take a tour of that. So that was really special. I did that with my mom. So we had some interesting conversations about life and about death. And it's really different when you're like standing there and you're like seeing the doers and you can like imagine like the people like upside down in the doers, like pretty much waiting to be revived. Um, so yeah, that was pretty special. Very cool experience. Um, what else? Yeah, right now I'm in Arizona. I may be going back to Russia. I have a job offer there. So I may be going back there like next month. I'm not sure. Um, I like it there, but I also have like two minds about it. So yeah, I'm thinking about that. And another thing I just kind of like to share personally, is that I'm kind of on a new medication, which calms my nervous system. So I'm really grateful for that. Because I've always been a little bit like manicky, like my whole life. And I've been seeing like psychiatrists here, and they told me like, Derek, like you kind of got like a mood disorder or something. Like, are you bipolar or do you have something like that? And I was like, I don't know. I've never been diagnosed with something. And they're like, you should really check that out because I think you maybe like have something. And so I've been taking this medication and it totally like calms my nervous system. I can sleep. I don't get like these highs where I'm super creative and feel like, I want to stay up all night and stuff like that. I can like just feel like I can live a normal lifestyle. So that feels really good. So yeah, I think I'm just really grateful for that, grateful for the people in my life that have been helping me during this time and had some cool experiences. Yeah.
Rock on.
Awesome.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Martine, yeah, you have something to share?
It's so interesting because as Bean and I were driving over here to the ashram, we were just talking on how the body is. I said a bitch's brew because I was thinking of like this Miles Davis album, but I think the word I was looking for was witch's brew of biochemistry. And then we were saying how like not only is it like different for every person, it's different for every person at each different time of their life. Every decade or less, that witch's brew of biochemistry in your brain is totally different. And I just can never forget this phrase from Star Trek where Scotty says, like, may you not be condemned to 20th century medicine. And it's not all that different in the
Yeah.
20th century. So we have this friend, Robin Farmanian, I believe is her last name. And doctors like took out like three of her organs trying to figure out what was wrong with her. And it wasn't fixing anything. And finally, she took charge of her own healthcare and solved the whole situation, somewhat similar to what we just heard. And she got so inspired, she did solve it. Unfortunately, no getting the organs back, but she did, she like was able to stabilize everything. And she wrote a book, The Patient as CEO. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. They're like, you just have to take charge of your own health because don't think, other people are going to do it for you. And kudos to you on taking charge.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Hey, Martine, I know a place where she can get replacement organs.
That's not a place you really want to visit.
No, manufactured ones. No.
That's
3D printed. Bring her up to Manchester. What does she need?
I put that at literally the end of your bucket list. Literally.
Oh, look who
Oh,
came.
wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Calvin's very interested in this conversation. He often, he suffers from anxiety, and so he's often over itching or works himself, up and gets a little aggressive sometimes. So we're working on finding a little balance for him, right, Doggy? Lovely. All right, hey, Mike, thanks for joining us. How's it
Yeah.
there?
I had trouble finding the right link somehow, but I finally found it, I guess. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. It did change, a few months ago. For some reason, the link that we had always used stopped working, and I had to establish this new link. And so this should be the same link moving forward now. But it did change from whatever it was. And so if you had it saved locally, yeah, we all need to do an update.
Yeah. That means I need to figure out how you do an update like that. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, so everyone should, I try to share a Google Calendar invite out to everyone that has that link. Not everyone uses that as their source. But somewhere in that there should be one. And work on better ways to ensure that people are getting direct invites. This was, a big difference from expecting people to know when and where, to show up and see who did, to actually, having a shared Google Calendar or having a calendar invite at all. But I think still too, I can tell that, making the positive effort to invite others to join makes a huge difference, and the farther that, we all go to do that, to not just to say, hey, like I'm involved in this Terasem thing and they have it on the 10th at the 10th, would you join me, or here is an invite and forwarding it, that makes a huge difference. And I find people's likelihood to show up. But yeah, I heard Derek, we were just at Alcor. Did you have a chance to meet with Mike while you're there?
No, actually, Mike was in Las Vegas at the time.
Yeah. Went to the Radfest meeting and the teens and 20s in the Radfest. So I was gone for several days.
Yeah, I was sad to miss that, but that was the same time that Jennifer and I were getting married up in the Bristol ashram. Lovely little service. Yeah, and unfortunately, my son Zion, who was looking at going, he did not make it either. That would have been his first, chance to get up there.
Okay.
I hear it was great.
It was good, yeah.
Yeah. How about the Radfest? And any notable, speakers, takeaways from that?
A lot of those things, those anti-aging talks are kind of technical and go over my head because it's really not my field. But the issue of AIs did come up, and that's one thing that I'm interested in, especially if you could use AIs right, you might accelerate anti-aging research. And so they are starting to think about that a little bit. And I brought that up too in one of the talks. sessions where they have audience participation. So each year, I hope it gets stronger.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They're it absolutely, yeah. I mean, it has the ability to advance everything. And I think this is what, like what Ray Kurzweil has been talking about all this time. And it's been very difficult for some people to like grasp it, because like not only it's like not only is the speed getting quicker, but the speed of acceleration is getting quicker, you
Yeah.
know and that's what this like is on the cusp of doing. So like we can see that there's like, oh, like this is going to lead to like this discovery, and this discovery might lead to that, but actually like getting there would take us so many more intervals, maybe sure at the rate of now or the rate of 100 years ago, where really our pace of thought or maybe more is set. That would take forever, but we're about to see 1,000 years of advancement be capable in minutes and seconds of and then where will we go with each next step and interval? And so it really is kind of breathtaking and fascinating to see where we're going with it.
Well, one thing is that you could start using AIs to design better AIs, but you really need to know what you're doing to do that, I think. But when they can start doing that, that would be the super exponential progress that you're talking about, I think.
Yeah.
How soon do we get reversal of aging? And AIs also are doing things that humans do, only they're starting to do it better than humans and more. And so we would have a world like that. Some people really worry about that, but you could have something like a basic guaranteed income that would be, if AIs are generating most of the wealth, you tax them and use that money, and then people could pursue their own interests more.
If only, if only. I'm curious that like how would an organization like Alcor like incorporate AI, or in particularly in the terms of like deploying, strategic assets, or like yeah, with the info that they have on patients, and capabilities, can the AI say, you know this is where or when and where some of your most likely deployments are going to be, and how accurate might that be?
That's right. Also, remember, Alcor is doing cryobiological research and so forth, and AIs could help with that too. And eventually, if you had humanoid robots, who knows what you could do? Would you have a crew of those go around, and lots of them everywhere to handle all the needs that would come up? As Alcor grows, the needs are going to get bigger and bigger too. So that means the job I'm doing, which is done by one person, eventually is going to be too much for one person, I think. So what's that going to lead to? We have a hospital with people working shifts. If we have many cool downs going at once or something, how would we manage that? We're going to have to face that, I think.
I think humanoid robots would be a great addition, though, because they're going to take over. They're going to be all over the place, folding your laundry and
Yeah.
doing chores and stuff, and they fit and function in human spaces. All of our vehicles and houses and everything are designed for that shape of helper.
Maybe you could have those helpers stand quietly in a closet when not in use, and then they wake up and just start walking again or something.
Well, you could have the mind files downloaded into the helper so that the helper
Yeah, you
would be
could.
attending to the person in the doer.
You could do that. And you could have AIs designing improvements of humanoid robots. Why not?
Oh, yeah. Well,
So
designing improvements of humans. I mean, we could now design organs that you didn't know you needed.
we
Like,
could
how
do that.
cool would it be to have gills that you could put on and, you know, live in the ocean for a while?
Or
Yeah, I mean,
upload it
as
to, we could
yeah,
upload it to a cyber world. And I know Terasem is sympathetic to that idea because you hear about it, cyber and all that sort of thing. A cyber world would have possibilities that could be realized a lot more easily than if you wanted some castle or something, you could do it in a cyber world more easily than in real life.
yep, yeah, and you know, again, I was having something Sabine said. My neighbor's daughter was over for breakfast before this. Um, you know, mentioned something about memories, which made me think about Total Recall and, you know, the ability to really implant or manipulate memories. And then like the value of like, you know, having actually done it or having like the memory, you know, of done it and of having done it. And what is the difference? You know, like what is you know, the real matter between that? How much does most people really care? You know, around, you know, did I do that? Could I do that? You know, because I think, in fact, quite many of us already, you know, are living in, you know, a fanciful
Yeah,
reality, right?
I think so
Um,
too. Right.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
so, but yeah, so then, you know, to have done something, you know, in, you know, what is it? So to implant that memory that never really happened at all, right? To say like you didn't go to Mars, like that memory was an implant, you know, but to go into the video game and to experience or to the virtual reality, right? And it to be
Yeah.
so real, you know, that it feels like that. You know, I think we are getting very close to that point. I have, you know, gotten so invested in some video games, you know, myself at this point, which I'd say still rudimentary, and you're clearly, you know, not in it, right? You're engaging through
Yeah.
a like a handheld device, but you can still get
Yeah.
so emotionally involved and connected into that. So just imagine if you know you really could just open your eyes and feel the full simulation of it, which I can't imagine is, you know, far off, based
Yeah.
on what we started from as a child and basic, you know, Sega and whatnot, to where we are now, you know, already with virtual reality and first person realistic experiences.
The implanted memories could be treated as something like a vivid dream. Uh, If it's vivid enough, maybe you would remember, you would think of it. It would be so realistic, but you would know it was a dream. But still, it would be very real. You could learn about history that way by going back, by a simulation of some events in the past or something like that. You'd have
I
a
have a
very
plan for that in a video game that I call Game of Trees, where you can simulate, you know, you sucks in all the data, real-time data all over the earth and the satellite data and all that kind of stuff. And then cell phone data, whatever data that can be scraped, you put it in it and assemble it in a Google Earth kind of structure, but then you hit the Wayback Machine button. So you could go back into the past and be in the Sahara Desert and watch it get green again and have the animals come back, or you could go and watch
uh,
the Siege of Troy or whatever. It would be like the ultimate entertainment.
that you would feel
And
like
then, of
I was
course, the
there.
future, you model future forward. So when you plant in my game, when you plant trees, you could fast forward them like 500 years and watch the whole forest grow up. And you could see the impact of like if you planted one tree versus 10 in Mali and, you know, help the families and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
We used to play Star Trek at I went to Deerfield and we had a computer, a teletype hookup with Northfield Mount Herman. It had one of the first computers in New England, and this is in the early 70s. And we would play Star Trek on the teletype. and you'd actually have to, you'd feed it a little, you know, a strip of paper that was punched out that it would read, it would tie into the program. And then you type in coordinates and wait for it to come back. And we were so engaged in Star Trek playing that game that way. We didn't even have a screen. But then when you think about it, what are guys like on a submarine or in like World War I or World War II? They were in a submarine. They knew what was going on in the world around them, but they had no other stimulus than this same craft that they're moving around in. So your mind is pretty plastic. It's pretty amazing. It can project itself out, you know, regardless of what the interface is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so very excited to see where this goes. And absolutely, you know, from principles like that, you have to deduce that our minds are capable of wrapping themselves around more than one base entity. Right. Yeah. And, you know, that's where I think, you know, all this leads to. And all the more reason, though, we also do, you know, have to, you know, be aware of where we are, what we're what we are doing, where we are going, and, you know, the wellness that we have to take for ourselves in order to, you know, maintain that. That's why we talk about the importance of transcendental meditation, you know, of longevity. I think so. Another, you know, a good part of how this reinforces is that, you know, longevity reinforces things like, you know, healthy living styles, um, and, you know, and maintenance, you know, because there is a, you know, idea of, you know, permanence, you know, that that we are attaining towards. And I think that that is often lost, you know, for, you know, I think a lot of thought styles where there's something better than being here now, right? And so if that really is the case, you know, what you're ultimately going to conclude, you know, is, you know, likely a bit more, you know, selfish, a bit less, you know, interested in the quality and, you know, over time of things, because you know, this is essentially a purgatory, you know, rather, you know, than a highest existence, right? So yeah. With that, it's 10:30. So let me bring up the truths and we'll get in the recitation. Got that up. So I'll share the screen here. And wait, is that? All right. Hopefully everyone can see that. I think pretty much going to need everyone's participation today. I'll start with 4.6 and we'll go on from there. 4.6, consensus may appear to slow the when of Terasem, but this is only an illusion. Appear fast or appear slow. Without unity, only down can anything go. Pathways to consent are paved with open communication. Processes of consent are paved with respectful communication. Empathy is a precursor for honest communication and conscious decision. Accept patience as a fair price for progress. Reciprocity and norms will be as accepted as they are consented to. And can I have a volunteer for 4.7? Yep.
Okay. Timelines for civilization progress n steps forward and n minus 1 steps backward with n values of 1 or larger. Values of n are set by actual conditions and depend inversely upon diversity and unity. Basically meaning like less diversity, less unity, that progress is going to be more slow. Always look at setbacks as repositioning, launching pads for greater progress. Look also to the big picture, for life has improved dramatically over historic time. Understand pain, suffering, and devastation as setbacks that must be overcome, not as fate. Existential technology, the ability to forge self-determination, drives unlimited progress and is programmed, literally programmed into the universe. Sooner or later, depending on order or chaos, joyful immortality will arrive.
Thank you, Martine. And moving on to 4.8.
I could do that. Shall I do
Yes.
that?
Yep, yeah, please.
No, no, the finer print we skip over, right?
Yeah, you don't have to recite the fine print. Yeah.
Okay. 4.8, involve yourself in daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual, and quadrennial Terasem rituals. Weave time daily for one exercise, vitology, unite earth, working happily, author self, serenity, utope self, motivation, astro, and sleep. Except between your Sabbath eves, only rest and relax, including reading, exercise, sexercise, and transcendental meditation. Every month, gather on the 10th at 10 for connection, recitation, reflection, and inspiration. Keep quarterly holidays of freedom, nature, obligation, and transcendence with ceremony on last month's 10th day. Love the annual graduation on the 10th satsanga by reading all truths and escalating Terasemians upward. Years divisible by 4 hold the quadrennial convocation from the 60th day to March 4th.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. All right, moving on to 4.9. One more volunteer.
I will.
Yeah, thanks.
Excuse me. 4.9, Vitology biology inflection begins when cybernetic processing capability evidences autonomy and empathy. Breakthrough consciousness requires processors performing 10 to the 16th operations per second, coupled with autonomous and empathetic software. Should I keep going?
Oh, yes, yeah, all the way through 4.9.6.
Oh, okay. Expect vitological life will emerge by 2045, adjusted minus or plus for chaos or order. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm all zoomed in. Okay, there we are. Okay, 493. Genus evolution will hybridize Homo sapiens to Vetus sapiens by 2050, plus or minus chaos order time. 494. Identity will be based on being, not body, as we will operate across multiple bodies simultaneously. 4.9.5. Nanobot swarms as virtual human real-world agents will dominate by 2100, plus or minus chaos order time. 496. Some biological life forms will be preserved out of aesthetic pleasure, using nanotechnology to relieve painful disabilities.
And the last section, one more volunteer for 410.
I can do that. Evolution of participation levels occur when C-quads consent to a participant's cumulative achievement of these capabilities. 4.10.1 levels hydrogen, helium, and lithium occur with gathering demonstrations of surface, middle, and deep terasem, respectively. 4.10.2 Expect beryllium, boron, and carbon levels with useful teachings on diversity, unity, and joyful immortality, respectively. 4.10.3 Vest nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine levels with when one has co-founded 1, 2, and 4 C cubes, respectively. 4.10.4 Elevate to neon, sodium, and magnesium with co-creating 1, 2, and 4 authored selves, respectively. 4.10.5 Levels aluminum and silicon happen when contributions to 1 and 4 geoethical solutions, respectively. And 4.10.6 Sanctify 1 as phosphorus. When a quadrennial convocation consents, they demonstrate the quintessence of Terasem.
Beautiful. Thanks for everyone for contributing to the recitation, the Truths of Terasem here. And that concludes our August recitation. And looking back here, yeah, so we had this one section, a finer print in here, which is actually a breakout of the previous section. So there's this 10 points. So what we ended up doing in there was adding kind of descriptions of what each of those 10 points, deeper ones, meant. So you didn't necessarily have to go back and forth to the glossary to get a finer understanding of the intention of weaving time daily in 4.8.1. And feel free, if there is anything that this section brings up for you to hop in and share.
That was really heavy duty, especially the part that I was reading. I want to work on that. Maybe we should. I'd like to make a visualizer of some of these. We should feed it into Gemini or whatever and create some images with it.
Yes, so we have done that, and there was, initially what we did was do through via Midjourney, a visualization of all the truths, so Instagram, which was a very interesting experiment. And then since then, now, I mean, that was, let's see, so that was 23 into 24. So it's been I guess maybe more than a year now since that project completed, I think. And what AI has done, I mean, Midjourney was the go-to, I think, as far as AI visualizations at that point. But now, they're everywhere. And now, I mean,
yeah.
you could make it video, right? With like Sora and everything now. So it just keeps getting, more intense, more amazing. With everything going on. So yeah, I think that there is a space for doing that again. I've used this version. This is a text only that I bring up, but we have incorporated some visualizations into text of the truths, as well. But since 2024, since post-COVID and the convocations, everything has been digital. So we did not print, the manuals, the paper books that we have in the past. As everyone's just, we're not meeting in person. Everyone's pretty much on a device. So we never actually went to print with any of that collateral.
Yeah. No worries. Well, it would be fun to work on. I'd kind of like to drill into a couple concepts on the vitology and sort of switching over, the engineered bodies. I love that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that would be also be great. I think there is um it's nice to have the connections gathering, but also I think some of these things would be, great to have some digger, bigger dives into, um, spend some more time kind of, unraveling.
Yeah, certain aspects, because it's so deep. It's like,
Well, yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So I think about this too in terms of the spiritualism of it, that there is some things that are designed to, sound good. And so, like a sweet smell, you hear it and it makes you think that there's a sense to it. Um, and but you don't really necessarily want to look too deep into it and then see that it doesn't really make sense. It just sounds good, perhaps, example, it just simply rhymes. And because of that,
Yeah, yeah. And I
yeah.
think it's important to different people will put sort of different visual concepts on things, based on, how they get it or whatever. So I think we can have fun kind of like leading that discussion or having divergent discussions and see what people come up with.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, given that, I've noticed that too, that the platforms, they tend to have a likeness, and after doing it, over a year's time, you identify that it's like, there's some similarities in how it's producing itself. And I'd be very interested, how even now, how an AI or how you can use illustration to get someone to understand something like vitology. You know, I mean, I feel like, again, like love, like some other things, even the AI or for the average person, there are some illustrations that they can have, you know, um, smells or likeness, a maternal, figure or something like this that they may
Yeah.
just really associate. But particularly within Terasem, there is a lot of content that I think is not as familiar and is more difficult to associate. And so,
Right.
right, so
It's so
reading it.
far out for so many people. It's like, what? They need the context.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, at least for me, even still, like I read things and, it tickles something different in my psyche than when I read, the kind of more motivational literature, like, of a lot of, uh, theological dogma,
I,
right?
I know that stuff gets boring after a while.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, there's very little that, I've read in texts like that where, you know, it leads me to be like, oh, wow, okay, well, like, so how does that work? You know? So,
Hmm.
so often I feel like, it's more of a pet, it's like when you reading that stuff, it's like, you know, petting, your anxieties on not knowing instead of like triggering your curiosity on discovering. And that's where I
Yeah.
feel, like the difference in how the spirituality of Terasem hits from, more traditional religious practice.
And the whole idea of it, creates a fertile ground for new ideas and futurism, of course. So I think we can. There's a newsletter that comes to mind called the Rational Optimists Society, and they get together. One of the guys, Dave Galland, is a friend of mine from Stowe. He found a co-founder of Everbank. with Lizzie's ex, and that kind of financial newsletter stuff. Great guy. But anyway, this group Rational Optimist Society publishes a great newsletter on where the world is now with technology and investing, but also a lot of futuristic stuff. And then they just had something on eVTOLs, or the VTOL revolution, with Archer and Joby. They didn't mention beta tech, but how this will change the landscape of cities and the transportation infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. So I think if we apply our lens of these changes in humanity, but if we can get out into some of these other media mouthpieces, sort of package articles and things like that, and just sort of, going back over Martine's work and Ellen Brooke, and kind of, I want to point out Two Stars for Peace, because that book was that was so amazing. And I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is such a dumb idea. I was like, oh, Martine, she's out there. And then I was like, holy shit, this is a really, really smart idea, really makes sense. And now in the, with Trump making all the noise and things like that, I think we could, try to work to maybe publish a cool article, to get a mainstream article somewhere every, like, one a month, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah. It is, I mean, it's more relevant now than ever, and I think is something that definitely needs to be reconsidered with everything that's going on. I myself, I've had some thoughts and feelings on that, issue and topic, and had a desire to kind of revisit it in my own way, and but yeah, sadly, I mean, we are now dealing with, a clear, declaration, around, permanent Israeli occupation of Gaza and Palestinian, property. And so I think that, but at the same time, then that is driving even, France and Canada and others to, recognize Palestinian statehood. So, I think the question of Two Stars for Peace, again, is more relevant now than ever, given what's going on.
I know, it's amazing.
And it's 25 years, 27, coming on, like, I think 26, 27 years, since the publication. So definitely, again, just saying, so ahead of the time, but so how right, these prophetic visions are. So
It's
definitely.
also it would be really fun to draw parallels between the visions of Martine Rothblatt and Donald Trump. As far as, like, hey, we can annex Greenland and Canada. It's like, the original idea was actually, Israel and Palestine. That's pretty impactful. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, coming back to the text here, 4.9 is a great section, because I think, in here, it talks a lot about, being versus body.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I think 4.9.4, is a good, summation of that. Identity will be based on being, not body, as we will operate across multiple bodies simultaneously. And I think that's really not, it's one thing that, you can, I guess, ground it in that not being such a far-fetched idea, is the fact that, our bodies already are a chorus of different systems and processes, right? Some of which, have some, independent abilities of their own. And
like the mitochondrial system.
Absolutely.
The mitochondria are now realized to be like little friggin' hitchhikers setting up a network in us.
Yeah, I mean, our gut microbiome. So there's all that going on,
Yeah.
right? So on the other, side of that, there's that realization of, like, just how much empty space there is in us. you
Yeah,
know.
right.
Like we just feel like, oh, like we're just like, but no, I mean, most of this is water, and inside most of that water is space, you
Yeah.
know. And so we're already a more of a decentralized thing that we than we, I guess, you know, like to consider that we are. And then, you know, I look into, you know, things like, yeah, like mushrooms, you know, the largest, you know, living, you know, organism on Earth is a clonal pine, you know, colony. Um,
I
and
thought it was a fungus.
um, maybe by size, not by mass, you know. Um,
I thought
yeah,
fungi
maybe.
got the biggest mass, but I'm not sure. But yeah, but they're trees, you know, they're huge. These.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but yeah, and then, you know, we look at, you know, ant colonies and other things that are essentially one thing, but, you know,
Yeah.
very centralized, right? And I think that, you know, all of those things should give us an understanding, not just of our place within a larger organism, right? But our ability, you know, to become you know, a larger, you know, organism as well. And so I think that this section really talks a lot about, you know, the becomingness of being.
It really does, and it touches onto both, you know, well, cyber consciousness and digital immortality and mind files, and also Alan Brook too. I got to circle back with him. He basically told me I could take over his foundation and run it if we can get some money into it, because I am active in the nonprofit space.
Yeah, yeah, also likewise. I have not heard from Alan recently. I should check in. He does often respond positively to coming, but I haven't, you know, he
He
hasn't
goes off the
joined us
grid.
recently.
He
Yeah.
likes to for someone who has such an incredible view of technology. He's really like a Luddite in a lot of ways, which I love him for. Um, yeah, that's yeah. He's that's a resource waiting to happen. Um,
I like, if I can cut in here, I like 4.9.5 about the nanobot swarms. And it reminds me of the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp, where he like creates the nanotechnology. Um, and also kind of reminds me of the like Faraday cage, like Ruben made with the flowers. Um, and it's just interesting how one of the themes and one of the like sayings in the movie is that people fear what they don't understand. And so, like in that
right.
movie, you have the like terrorist organization that is against the technologists, and the whole thing is that they fear what they don't understand. So, kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. And I think there's something else in here too. If I recall, actually, I think it started on a point. Um, I think about consent, right? You know, I think that uh, you know, this talks us to 4.6 and consent and understanding familiarity. You know, people aren't likely to consent with something they don't understand, that they don't have access to, right? And
Yeah.
so I think, you know, the democratization is important. Um, you know, I think there's also something said about diversity, and that just because we have this incredible technological world, um, you know, I think that, you know, is there, um, you know, does that mean everyone, you know, needs to live in it? What does that mean for other ways of being? And how do you mitigate, the reality of a Luddite civilization peacefully coexisting with, a highly, technological, and the two, again, engaging, seeing each other, respecting each other, you know, um, and that's difficult because, certain things are, you know, not necessarily equal, but that doesn't make them unnecessary or non-important, at the same time. So I think that's fascinating. And, we see somewhat of a world in that. Um, but there may be layers that they don't really, tell us, like in Star Trek and Picard going back to work his vineyard, in France, and then hopping back on a spaceship, or, Kirk, on his dude ranch, um, and so it gives us a glimpse of this world where people are still working the land and agriculture, but then can hop in and fly off in a place. It also gives us a picture of a world, though, where yes, you have the tools of, advanced computing and AI calculation, but, when the power goes down, they can still navigate by the stars and, do the calculations. And I think that that's something that, I've been, curious about is, the effect that having these tools is having on our capabilities. And,
Yeah. It's
you know,
and yeah, it's like kids who can't read maps and things like that. I heard in Italy somebody they recreated some Roman galleys. It's like the slave galleys, and we're going to have the prisoners, prison inmates like man the galleys, and just as a recreation thing. I doubt they were getting flogged or whatever, but and I don't know if this was kind of a fantasy project or if it ever came true or not. And then I heard like like wealthy people and tourists and stuff like crowded them out and wanted to row on the slave galleys. But how cool would it be to have some of the, I was thinking, make a Roman slave galley and some Viking ships and just sail those around and have people totally go back to live in an Aztec community with only the clothes that the Aztecs had and eating only what they ate, and and you could do mock human sacrifices with actors and things like that to make it fun, and they could throw pig hearts down for people or whatever. But how freaking cool would that? I would love to do that.
yeah, I think that there is actually probably maybe even a growing market for period tourism and
Yes,
experiences, right? I mean, colonial Williamsburg, has always
I
been
know.
kind of a, example of that. But I think that there may be other opportunities to deeper experiences, even intentional communities, kind of based around those ideas. I think sadly, one thing that triggers for me, just before we get to the end here, um, is the consideration of what we're seeing going on, and just very, very much this is that, these types of work are seen as unimportant, generally even almost as unskilled,
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
that they are labor intensive. And in
Right.
fact, they are skilled labor. You can't just take any like idle body and put them in a field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every type of plant has its, peculiarities, and that is skilled labor. And it's sad that we don't kind of appreciate those things as much as we do. And we think that we can just, take prisoners or children and, put them in the fields, because, that work done by generally migrants, is considered, unimportant, unskilled, when in fact,
Yeah.
it's really not that simple, whether it's, custodial work, agricultural work, educators, this is all, important facets of, our being. So, with that, I am going to grab a universal truth card, and for our final, meditation, While I do that, I'm going to ask you to find your breath. 3 deep seconds in through the nose, hold, and exhale for at least 3-4 seconds, longer than your inhale. Take a moment to do that. And now we have the meditation for this month is nurture. When we save just one soul from sorrow, we repair a multitude of wounds. One truly nurturing person can exert such healing to the world at large. It is sad indeed that as a race, we have forgotten that it is our nature to nurture. Yet, life is most rewarding when it is lived nurturing others. It is our spiritual replenishment. Just as healthy food is nourishment for the body, caring is nourishment for the soul. Nurturing another becomes our emotional tithing. The divine becomes our silent partner. It is a statement of our unselfishness, living united with the light from the universal realm. Remember, without nurture, there is no future. And once again, I just can't imagine a better, kind of closing meditation, and am awestruck by how I can randomly pick something like that out of a stack of decks, cards, and it just fits so perfectly, for the time and the purpose. So thanks
Wow.
everyone again for nurturing Terasem, and remember to nurture yourselves so that we can all nurture others. And thank you, Mike Perry, for the nurturing that you're doing for the future, because there are hundreds of people that you nurture every day. And one day, any of us could easily be one of them. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank
I
you.
am you. You am I. We are one. We'll see you next time.
So long.
Bless you, everybody. Thank you.